Imagine this. You're at a dinner table with friends, everything seems light and easy, but something inside you is churning. Someone made a comment, a little too sharp, a little too personal. It stung, but you smiled. You nodded. You even chuckled, pretending it didn't cut. Because that's what you do. That's who you are. You don't want to be the one who ruins the mood. You don't want to seem dramatic. You've been taught, by parents, by school, by society, that kindness is currency. That likability keeps you safe. That good people keep the peace. So you swallow the insult like you've swallowed 1,000 others. You nod in agreement when you actually disagree. You volunteer when you're already exhausted. You say, it's okay, when it very clearly isn't. And little by little, something inside you dies. Not all at once. Slowly, quietly, like a flame suffocating under glass. Here's the great contradiction. We praise kindness. We worship empathy. We raise our children to be nice. The world is full of burnt-out caregivers, passive-aggressive marriages, friendships laced with resentment, employees on the verge of breakdowns, people who are loved by everyone and secretly hate themselves. Because being nice isn't always kindness. Sometimes it's self-erasure. It's not about compassion, it's about control. It's not about peace, it's about fear. What if your niceness isn't a virtue, but a mask? A mask you wear so you don't disappoint others. So they won't leave. So they won't see who you really are, angry, conflicted, overwhelmed, human. What if being nice has nothing to do with being good, and everything to do with surviving in a world that punishes authenticity? Ask yourself this. Why do you feel guilty when you say no? Why does setting boundaries feel like a betrayal? Why is there a voice in your head that says, don't make them uncomfortable, just smile? Where did that voice come from? That anxious little whisper that says, keep the peace. Don't rock the boat. They'll think you're selfish. They won't love you if you show anger. You learn that voice. And it runs deeper than you think. It's not just social politeness. It's survival conditioning. Let's go further. What if your need to be nice is rooted not in strength, but in trauma? What if the smile you wear is a scar, not a sign of peace? Think back. Not to the big betrayals or obvious pain, but the subtle moments. When you were told to stop crying, you're being too sensitive. When your parents fought and you tiptoed to avoid becoming the next target. When your teachers praised you for being quiet, obedient, easy. You learned early on that harmony was safety. That your feelings were too much. That anger equals rejection. That asserting your needs is risking love. So you became what the world wanted. Soft-spoken, agreeable, palatable. You smiled your way into invisibility. And here's the part that really hurts. It works. People like you. You're everyone's favorite. The reliable one. The understanding one. The friend who gets it. The coworker who never causes trouble. The partner who's so easy to be with. But late at night, when you're alone, there's a tension in your chest. A scream you can't voice. A version of you that feels like a stranger in your own life. Because you've never asked, what do I want? Who would I be if I stopped trying to please everyone? This isn't a rant against kindness. This is about the weaponization of niceness. About the invisible cost you pay every time you abandon yourself to be accepted. You can't love others if you secretly resent them. You can't build real connection if you're hiding behind a curated smile. You can't be free if your self-worth is chained to everyone else's comfort. The price of being nice isn't just burnout or exhaustion. It's disconnection from your own instincts, emotions, and identity. So now we must ask the deeper question. Where does this need come from? Who built the myth that pleasing others equals goodness? What does psychology and philosophy say about the compulsion to be liked? Because this isn't just personal. It's ancient. It's cultural. It's psychological. It's philosophical. So why do we do it? Why do so many people choose being liked over being honest? Why do we sacrifice authenticity for harmony, often without realizing it? The answer, as with most human behavior, lies deep in the psyche. Let's start with Carl Jung. Jung believed every individual wears a persona, a social mask crafted to meet the expectations of the world. It's not inherently evil. It helps us survive. But when we confuse the mask for our true self, we begin to rot from the inside out. The nice person is often someone whose persona has taken full control. They smile when angry, stay silent when violated. They've buried their shadow, Jung's term for the darker, unconscious parts of the psyche. But the shadow doesn't disappear. It festers. It grows resentful. And one day, it erupts, often in passive aggression, burnout, anxiety, or self-sabotage. Jung put it plainly. Let's go even deeper into the existential fire of Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche despised conformity masquerading as morality. He saw niceness as a form of cowardice, society's way of taming the individual's raw power. You have your way. I have my way. As for the right way, the correct way, and the only way, it does not exist. To Nietzsche, the obsession with being good was not about virtue. It was about obedience. It was about staying small, unthreatening, palatable. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But that journey requires you to confront your inauthentic niceness. To peel back the layers and ask, what have I been hiding to be accepted? That a nice person is rarely dangerous. But that's exactly the problem. They're not dangerous to anyone, not even to the systems that exploit them. And that begins by breaking the chains of niceness. By no longer mistaking social acceptance for personal values. Arthur Schopenhauer, the philosopher of pessimism, believed that human suffering comes from desire, especially the desire for validation from others. He saw the need to be liked as a trap, an illusion, a never-ending thirst for external approval that robs us of freedom. A man can be himself only so long as he is alone. Schopenhauer's version of freedom wasn't about isolation, but about detachment from the need to please. To him, the nice person was a slave. So ask yourself, are your acts of kindness free, or are they bargains in disguise? Are you giving love, or buying approval? Psychologically speaking, chronic people-pleasing often leads to what therapists call self-alienation. You stop trusting your own instincts. You feel anxious making decisions. You second-guess your tone, your words, your wants. You shrink even when no one asks you to. And eventually, you become a ghost in your own life, known, but not seen. This is the real cost of being nice all the time. Not just exhaustion, not just resentment, but disconnection from self. The tragedy? The world keeps rewarding you for it. They'll call you mature, understanding, the bigger person. But deep down, your soul knows the truth. You're tired of apologizing for existing. And let's be real. Modern society loves nice people. The employee who doesn't ask for a raise. The friend who never complains. The partner who puts everyone else first. Niceness is often exploited. It's not rewarded with freedom, it's rewarded with more expectations. Until the nice person becomes a dumping ground for everyone else's chaos. And the worst part? They rarely fight back. Because they don't want to seem difficult. So what's the alternative? Not cruelty, not selfishness, but authenticity. The ability to say, I don't agree. That hurt me. No, I can't do that. Here's what I want. The courage to disappoint others, to stay true to yourself. The strength to confront discomfort rather than avoid it. The wisdom to give only when it comes from overflow, not obligation. This is the path that Jung, Maté, Nietzsche, and others were pointing to. Not a life of chaos, but a life of truth. And truth is rarely nice. But it is always liberating. First, awareness. Smile in moments of deep discomfort. Feel guilt when choosing yourself. These are not personality traits. They are protective mechanisms. They once kept you safe. They helped you survive childhood, trauma, rejection. So don't hate the part of you that learned to be nice. It was doing its job. But now its job is done. You're not a child anymore. And survival is no longer the goal. Authenticity is. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That's shadow work. And for the chronically nice person, the shadow often contains. Don't justify. Don't apologize. Don't over-explain. You'll feel the tension rise. You'll feel your body scream to fill the silence. But that silence? That discomfort? That's you rewiring your nervous system. That's you learning that you can survive other people's disappointment. Because you can. And it's not your job to manage their feelings. Messiness. The ability to say no and not flinch. You've buried these qualities under the weight of niceness. Now you must reclaim them, not as flaws but as fuel. Anger, for example, isn't the enemy. It's a compass. It points to boundaries being crossed. Desire is not selfish. It's self-honoring. Assertiveness isn't rude. It's honest. Shadow work doesn't mean becoming aggressive. It means becoming whole. You were never meant to be half a person. There's a difference between being nice and being kind with integrity. Niceness says, I'll keep the peace even if it hurts me. Integrity says, I'll be honest even if it's uncomfortable. Niceness is passive. Integrity is active. Niceness avoids. Integrity confronts, with love and courage. If someone violates your boundary and you say nothing, that's not kindness. That's fear of abandonment dressed up in virtue. You are not responsible for other people's reactions to your truth. But you are responsible for telling it. Accept that you will lose people, and that's okay. Here's the hardest truth. When you stop being nice, some people will walk away. And they should. They were only there for the version of you that pleased them, not the version that lived honestly. You will lose people who benefited from your silence. People who admired your selflessness because it served them. People who depended on your emotional labor, not your autonomy. Let them go. What you gain will be far more valuable. Self-respect, peace of mind, real relationships rooted in truth, not performance. Understand that being disliked isn't death. The nice person often treats rejection as fatal, like being disliked equals being unsafe. This fear likely comes from childhood. We're wired to associate acceptance with survival. But you're not that child anymore. Someone being angry with you doesn't mean you're wrong. Someone pulling away doesn't mean you're bad. Being disliked means you're becoming real. Not everyone likes the truth. Not everyone likes boundaries. But the real you deserves space, whether others applaud it or not. Build a new identity, from pleaser to protector. Think of your future self not as a rebel, but as a guardian. You're not rejecting kindness. You're protecting your essence. You're drawing lines not to harm others, but to preserve what's sacred in you. Every time you say no, every time you speak up, you're telling your nervous system, I am safe now. I don't need to disappear to be loved. That's not arrogance. That's self-respect. And it's one of the rarest, strongest forces on earth. Practice micro-courage every day. You don't have to burn down your life overnight. Say what you actually want to eat. Correct someone when they misrepresent you. Tell a friend when something they said hurt. Ask for space without apologizing. Each act of honesty is a vote for your real self. Stack enough votes and soon your identity shifts. You stop being the nice one. You start being the whole one. And that version of you? They don't need to be liked. They need to be true. You've pulled off the mask. You've said your first honest no. You've felt the tremor of truth ripple through your nervous system. And now, you're not sure who you are without the performance. You're raw, unarmored, vulnerable. This is the void where the old self dies, and the real self begins. But to cross this threshold, you need guidance. Not from self-help slogans, but from ancient thinkers. From philosophers who stared into the abyss of human nature and came back with light. The world doesn't need more nice people. It needs honest people, clear people, whole people, people who love without abandoning themselves, people who give from fullness, not fear, people who can say yes and no and mean both. Niceness keeps the world quiet. Authenticity changes it. So next time you're about to smile through the pain, ask yourself, is this really kindness, or am I betraying myself again? Let's begin with the Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus. They lived in empires that valued dominance, fame, and flattery. Yet they taught something radically different. If you want to be loved, love yourself first. Seneca. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. The Stoics taught that virtue lies in self-mastery, not approval. That people's opinions are externals, beyond our control. And to base your worth on what others think is to live like a slave. To the Stoic, the chronic people-pleaser is not kind. They are undisciplined. They let fear run their soul. True strength is saying, I will live by values, not by applause. I will act with courage, even if misunderstood. I will be kind, but never at the cost of my truth. Hammer and wrench existentialism. Freedom means responsibility. Now shift to a different school of thought, existentialism, from thinkers like Sartre and Kierkegaard. To Sartre, you are responsible for defining yourself. There is no human nature to hide behind. No God, no system, no parent, no role model can dictate who you must be. Man is condemned to be free. Jean-Paul Sartre. A heavy truth. Freedom is not just opportunity. It is burden. That the nice person often avoids this burden. They live by scripts. I'm a good daughter. I'm a polite employee. I'm easy to be around. But existentialism asks, who are you without the role? The moment you stop being nice, you feel the rawness of freedom. And freedom is terrifying. Because it means, now I choose who I become. And if I betray myself now, I have no one else to blame. Arthur Schopenhauer reminds us that most suffering comes from craving, especially craving validation. The chronic, nice person is addicted to praise. Addicted to not being disliked. Addicted to emotional security at any cost. But Schopenhauer's antidote was detachment. A man can do what he wills, but he cannot will what he wills. His pessimism was a strange form of liberation. He said, stop trying to make the world love you. It won't. And it doesn't have to. Love is not approval. It is recognition. And only those who see the real you are capable of offering it. Friedrich Nietzsche was not interested in goodness, as society defined it. To him, it was often resentment in disguise, the morality of the powerless. You call yourself free? I want to hear your ruling idea, not that you have escaped from a yoke. Nietzsche wanted humans to move beyond good and evil, to live not by fear of judgment, but by inner alignment. He saw niceness as submission, as a way the weak disguised their envy of the strong. And what did he offer instead? The Übermensch, not a tyrant, but a sovereign self. A person who creates values, instead of inheriting them. A person who speaks truth, even when it costs them everything. The Übermensch is not polite. They are honest. They are dangerous, not in violence, but in clarity. Because clarity threatens systems built on lies. So here's the new path. Stop performing. Start being. It will feel awkward at first. You'll second-guess every boundary. You'll fear every silence after an honest answer. You'll tremble as the old self dies. But keep going. Because something beautiful happens when you stop chasing nice. You become real. Not everyone will like you. But those who do, they'll see you fully. And they'll love you as you are. Not as you pretend to be. Pause here. Ask yourself, who am I beneath the roles I play? What do I believe truly? What parts of me have I silenced to be accepted? What would it mean to live without apology? Sit with those answers. They are not comfortable, but they are true. And in truth, you finally come home to yourself. There will be a funeral, not with flowers or music, but in silence. In a moment when you finally say no and mean it. When you speak up and don't flinch. When you stop laughing at the joke that belittles you. When you look someone in the eye and say, I'm not okay with this. And they look surprised, because the old you would have smiled. But that version of you? They're gone. The nice person dies when you stop apologizing for having a self. Don't mourn them. Honor them. They were your armor. But you're not in battle. Let's be clear. You won't always be graceful. You'll set boundaries awkwardly. You'll overcorrect and undercommunicate. You'll disappoint people who once depended on your silence. That's what healing looks like. It's messy. It's human. You will feel guilty, But guilt is not always a signal of wrongness. Sometimes it's just a byproduct of doing something new. Something your younger self was never allowed to do. Choose you. You don't need to be cold. But you do need to be clear. You don't need protection. You need presence. And then one day, quietly, you'll notice something has shifted. You'll say how you feel and your voice won't shake. You'll ask for what you need without apology. You'll walk away from what dishonors you and not look back. You'll feel peace. Not because everyone likes you, but because you like you. And for the first time in your life, that will be enough. This is not arrogance. It's alignment. It's not selfishness. It's sovereignty. The real you is not here to be palatable. They are here to be whole. To live honestly. To speak plainly. Society will still reward you for being nice. For shrinking. For accommodating. For overgiving. For being agreeable even when you're in pain. But you're not here to be rewarded by broken systems. You're here to become free. Hold your truth when others try to guilt you out of it. Give without keeping score, but only from overflow, not obligation. Say yes when it's a sacred yes, not a fearful one. That's real kindness. That's maturity. And it starts with reclaiming yourself. To love fully. And to walk freely, even if it means walking alone. So here we are. You've looked in the mirror and seen what you've become. Not a monster. Not a failure. But someone who learned long ago that safety came at the price of self. You became nice so you wouldn't be abandoned. So they wouldn't be angry. So you wouldn't be too much, too loud, too selfish too. And it worked. They liked you. But somewhere along the way, you stopped liking yourself. Now, something inside you is waking up. Something ancient. Something real. So next time you're about to say yes out of fear, what would my real self do right now? Am I doing this out of love or out of fear of being unloved? Then choose. Not the easiest choice. Not the nicest one. But the truest. That's the moment the transformation begins. That's when the real you is born. And that person? They may not be liked by everyone. But they'll be loved, deeply, honestly, and without condition, by those who truly see them. And more importantly, they'll finally love themselves.